He stood in the cold shadows of the immigration office in London, heart pounding, hands trembling, not from fear but from guilt. The woman he had used, deceived, and married just for papers, had left behind a will worth £75 million, and every single penny was in his name. What kind of woman marries a stranger just to help him stay in a foreign land, then blesses him with a fortune after death? My friend, sit tight and don't click away. Because this isn't just a love story, it's betrayal, redemption, and the kind of twist that will leave your mouth open. Watch till the very end, subscribe, comment, and share, because by the time this story ends, you'll never look at love the same way again. The story begins. It was a rainy Friday afternoon when Chuka walked into that quiet coffee shop near Stratford, East London. Wet, broke, and desperate. His student visa had just expired. In a city that didn't care who you were unless you had the right documents, Chuka was quickly learning that being smart, handsome, or even hardworking meant nothing if you didn't have leave to remain. He had tried everything. Odd jobs under the table, faking documents, even begging old classmates for help. But London was cold in more ways than one. That's when she walked in. Her name was Amanda. Tall, quiet, and oddly graceful. She wasn't the kind of woman that turned heads with beauty, but she had presence. She bought her usual black coffee and sat 2 tables across from him. Chuka noticed her every day for almost 3 weeks. Same time. Same order. Alone. No smile. No ring. One afternoon he took a leap. "Hi," he greeted, sitting at her table uninvited. "Can I join you? I think we've shared coffee time for almost a month now." She looked up, surprised but not angry. "I suppose that makes us friends then." They laughed. That conversation stretched for hours. He learned she was a nurse, divorced, no kids. Amanda had come to the UK from Jamaica over a decade ago. Now a citizen. Stable. Quiet life. They became regulars, talking, laughing, sharing meals. But in Chuka's mind, every smile had a purpose. He wasn't falling in love. He was planning survival. The marriage proposal. 3 months later he told her the truth. Or at least part of it. "My visa has expired. I could be deported any moment," he said one evening, eyes low. Amanda listened. "And what do you want me to do?" she asked softly. He didn't beg. He didn't cry. He simply said, "Marry me. Help me stay. I'll take care of you. I promise." She stared at him for a long time. "You do know marriage isn't a joke." "I know. And I swear I'll never hurt you," she agreed, quietly. No big ceremony. Just court papers, a signature, and 2 lives bound by survival, not love. But Amanda wasn't naive. She had seen the signs. His flirty eyes, the way he dodged questions about commitment, his obsession with documents. But something inside her whispered, let him have a chance. A year of lies and pretend love. Their first year of marriage was strange. Chuka lived in the same house, but emotionally he was a ghost. Amanda cooked, cleaned, paid bills. She never asked for love. Never begged for attention. She simply existed. Chuka began to resent her. The guilt ate at him, but his hunger for freedom ate harder. He started seeing other women. Secretly, quietly. Never bringing them home, but his late-night calls and cheap colognes told their stories. Amanda said nothing. Until one night. He returned home at 2 a.m., smelling of cheap vodka and perfume. She sat in the dark, waiting. "I know," she said quietly. Chuka froze. "I know what you've been doing. I know this marriage is nothing but paperwork to you. But guess what? I let it happen. I allowed it because I saw something in you that you don't even see in yourself." He stood silent, shame, speechless. Amanda got up, walked past him and went to bed. No argument, no fight. The diagnosis. 2 weeks later, Amanda fainted at work. The hospital ran tests. Stage 4 ovarian cancer. Terminal. She came home that night and handed Chuka an envelope. "I'm dying," she said with a strange calmness. Chuka looked at her like she was lying. She wasn't. "I have 6 months, maybe less." His world spun. Not because he loved her, but because for the first time he realized she had given him everything and he had given her nothing. She smiled. Don't pretend now. Just be yourself till I go. The will. 3 months passed. Amanda grew weaker. Chuka became more present. Less clubs. More soup. Less phone calls. More stories. He read to her. Held her hand. For the first time he saw her. Not as a passport, but as a woman who had silently loved him without ever needing his love back. One rainy morning she passed away in her sleep. He found her body curled on the couch with her Bible in her hands. Chuka cried. Not just for her, but for the man he could have been if he had loved her sooner. A week later the lawyers called. Amanda had left him a will. The office was silent as the document was read. To my husband Chuka. I may not have had your heart, but I saw your soul. And I know you tried in the end. That meant everything to me. You are the only family I have. You get everything. Everything. Amanda had no children. No close family. But what Chuka didn't know was Amanda owned 3 properties in London, 2 in Jamaica, stocks in healthcare, and a dormant trust left behind by her late father, totaling £75 million. He nearly collapsed. Redemption. For months, Chuka didn't touch the money. He donated half of Amanda's estate to cancer foundations, started a clinic in Jamaica in her name, and used the rest to sponsor immigrants trying to settle legally in the UK. Every time he walked into that coffee shop again, he sat at her favorite table and whispered, "Thank you." He never remarried. Never sought another visa. He didn't need papers anymore, because now he belonged to a legacy. Amanda didn't die bitter. She died with grace. And in doing so, she made a selfish man become a great one. Chuka stood outside the solicitor's office for nearly 30 minutes after the will was read. The wind slapped his face and tears streamed freely. Only this time they weren't for Amanda. They were for the version of himself that died with her. Inside his coat pocket was a sealed envelope with his name on it. Amanda's handwriting, carefully written in blue ink. Back at home, he sat on her side of the bed, fingers trembling as he opened the letter. It read, "My dear husband, if you're reading this it means I'm gone. But don't cry for me. My pain is over. I lived a quiet life, but your presence made it meaningful, even if it started as a lie. I've left you my estate, but there's one more thing I ask of you, not as a wife but as a friend. Go to Jamaica. Visit the land where my heart was buried before cancer took me. Find Miss Agatha in Montego Bay. She'll explain the rest. Don't just inherit my wealth. Inherit my dreams. Love. Amanda." 3 weeks later, Chuka found himself standing in Montego Bay, the sun blazing against his face. His heart pounding harder than ever. His ticket was one way. His intention wasn't tourism, it was closure. Montego Bay was beautiful, but Amanda's neighborhood was old, quiet, and filled with stories. When he asked for Miss Agatha, everyone pointed him to a pale blue house with banana trees lining the front. A woman in her late 60s opened the door. Her eyes narrowed as she studied Chuka. "You must be the Nigerian boy," she said, nodding slowly. "Yes, I'm Chuka. She told me you'd come." Inside the house were old photos of Amanda, young, smiling, full of life. Agatha poured tea and led him to the backyard where a faded plaque stood. Amanda Josephine Harper, the girl who wanted to save the forgotten. Chuka turned to Agatha. "What does this mean?" Agatha smiled. She was going to build a school right here. For abandoned children. Orphans. Girls who were assaulted and thrown away. This was her dream. She saved every coin for it. Then cancer came. She used the last of her strength to marry you. Not just to give you papers, but to give you purpose. Chuka swallowed hard. She knew I used her. She also knew you were better than that. The legacy school begins. For the next 6 months, Chuka forgot about wealth, luxury, or fame. He rolled up his sleeves and poured the inheritance into the land. Brick by brick, room by room, the Amanda Legacy Foundation School began to rise. The community whispered at first. Why is this Nigerian man building here? Who is he? Is he her son? But they saw him working every single day. With his own hands. Whetting. Lifting. Teaching street kids how to read under a mango tree while the classrooms were still being built. He could have been in London living like a king. Instead, he slept on a wooden cot in a dusty room next to the construction site. One night, a group of young men approached him. Gang members. You building all this to look like a hero? No, Chuka said. I'm doing it to become the man Amanda believed I could be. One of the boys spat on the ground. Respect. They never disturbed him again. A new family. Among the children who started coming to the free classes under the tree was a young girl named Sasha. Years old. Big eyes. Always barefoot. She was mute. Nobody knew where her parents were. She was passed from house to house, often beaten, often starved. One day, Chuka found her sitting outside his room, arms covered in bruises. She looked up at him, silently begging. He didn't ask questions. He let her in. He bought her shoes, enrolled her in school, fed her, protected her. Within 3 months, Sasha spoke her first word. Uncle, he cried that night. Back in London, a storm brewing. But while Chuka was building a legacy, back in London, trouble stirred. Amanda's estranged brother, Calvin Harper, heard about the inheritance. He was a former addict who had disowned Amanda years ago. But now, seeing news online about the foundation, Calvin hired lawyers. That Nigerian boy tricked my sister and stole her money. He married her for papers. I want everything frozen. The media grabbed the story. Nigerian immigrant inherits millions from terminally ill wife. Gold digger or grateful widower. Betrayal in the shadows. Chuka received a legal notice while preparing for the school's grand opening. Amanda's estate was under investigation. Assets frozen. Accounts locked. And the worst part. Someone he had trusted, Amanda's old co-worker Melissa, had submitted a false affidavit saying Amanda once confided that the marriage was a deal and she never intended to give him anything. Broke him. For 3 days, Chuka didn't eat. For 3 nights, he sat on the school's foundation steps, staring into the darkness. That was when Sasha climbed into his lap and whispered, "You don't need to be rich to be my family." Amanda's voice returns. One of Amanda's old diaries, kept in a box Agatha had preserved, held a crucial piece of evidence. In a recorded voice memo stored on an old cassette tape, Amanda said, "Even if Chuka never loved me, he made my last days peaceful. He gave me laughter when I had pain. He deserves everything I own, not because he's perfect but because he tried. And sometimes trying is enough." That recording was submitted in court by Agatha herself. The judge ruled. Amanda's will was valid, her wishes clear, and the accusations of manipulation were unfounded. State restored. The school opens. The day the Amanda Legacy School officially opened, over 300 children marched in uniform. Parents wept. Teachers danced. Reporters returned, but this time the headlines read, "From shame to glory. Man once called a gold digger builds school with wife's inheritance. A widow's will becomes a nation's light." Chuka didn't give a speech. He stood before the school gate, tears streaming, and simply said, "Thank you, Amanda. You didn't just save me. You saved all of us." The Amanda Legacy School blossomed. What began with a few children under a mango tree had grown into 6 classrooms, a clinic, and a staff of 20. Chuka no longer wore designer clothes or chased papers. His joy was in the dusty hands of schoolchildren who called him Uncle. And yet, there was a quiet war still raging inside him. He still had Amanda's estate. The media, now friendlier, often called him the man who turned inheritance into impact. But behind every smile he wore was a simple truth. He missed her. At night, he sometimes played her voice notes, just to hear her laugh again. An invitation to London. Then one day an email arrived. Subject: Nomination. Commonwealth Humanitarian Award. He was being honored. The London City Council, alongside the Amanda Harper Foundation UK branch, had selected him to receive a Humanitarian Leadership Award for his contribution to global education. He laughed at first. Me. The same man who came begging for papers. But Agatha said, "This is Amanda's final applause for you. Go." He booked a flight to London. Returned to the city that once rejected him. Stepping back into London felt strange. The streets that once held rejection now whispered his name. Billboards showed his photo. News channels wanted interviews. Even the coffee shop where he met Amanda placed a bouquet of white roses at their old table. But the moment that broke him was when he visited Amanda's grave. He stood alone under a gray sky, staring at the tombstone that read, "Amanda Harper, beloved wife, healer, visionary. In loving others, she healed herself." He knelt, placed a rose, and whispered, "Everything you dreamt of. It's alive now." A wind blew through the trees, and in his heart he felt her smile. Award night. A global stage. The award night came. Over 700 guests filled the hall. Politicians, celebrities, world changers. Chuka stood backstage, heart racing. His name was called. He walked up, not in a suit, but in a simple African kaftan. The audience rose in applause. But when the microphone was handed to him, he didn't speak immediately. He stared at the crowd, then closed his eyes. "2 years ago," he began, "I was the man everyone warned you about. I married a woman for papers. Lied. Cheated. I used her." The crowd fell silent. "But instead of punishing me, she gave me something no money can buy, grace. She didn't just give me papers. She gave me purpose. And now, hundreds of children in Jamaica wake up every morning with a future. Because one woman chose to see beyond my flaws." The twist. Amanda's final surprise. After the event, he was approached by Amanda's UK lawyer, Mrs. Rothstein. "There's something I never told you," she said. "Amanda made one final investment, without telling you. She bought a plot of land in Lagos. Prime property. Built under a silent trust. It was meant for you." Chuka was stunned. She said, and I quote, "If he ever goes back home, let him know I believed in his roots too." That night, Chuka stared out his hotel window, overwhelmed. Every step of his life, Amanda had planted seeds, even after death. A new beginning in Nigeria. 6 months later, Chuka returned to Nigeria. For the first time in a decade, he walked freely through the airport. No fear of deportation. He wasn't a beggar anymore. He was a builder of dreams. The land Amanda had bought in Lagos was beside an old market and surrounded by struggling communities. He wasted no time. The Amanda Harper Institute for Girls became his new mission. A school focused on training young women in STEM, leadership, and entrepreneurship. This time he didn't do it alone. Sasha, now 13, joined him as a speaker and symbol of the foundation's success. "I was once silent. Now I speak," she said at the opening. People wept. The letter in the wooden box. On the day of the Lagos school's dedication, Chuka opened the last item Amanda had ever left him, a small wooden box locked away in Agatha's home. Inside was a photo of the two of them at the coffee shop. Taped behind the photo was one last letter. "Dear Chuka, if you've opened this, you've walked the path. You've become the man I knew you could be. I don't need thanks. I just need you to keep loving the world. You were never meant to just stay, you were meant to change. This isn't the end of our story, just the beginning of yours. Keep going. Love always. Amanda." Chuka's final speech to the world. For the viewers. He stood in front of a sea of students in Lagos, a camera broadcasting his image around the globe. He took a deep breath and said, "People said I married her for papers. And maybe I did. But Amanda gave me a passport to purpose. She saw my worst, and still planted seeds of greatness in me. And now, from London to Montego Bay to Lagos, her name lives on. So here's my message to everyone watching. Don't let your past stop your legacy. You may have made mistakes. You may have lied, failed, or disappointed someone. But it is never too late to choose a different ending. Because love, even when unspoken, can raise nations. I was once a man running from deportation. Now I run schools, heal dreams, and carry the name of a woman who saved my life. Her name was Amanda. And I will spend the rest of mine making sure the world never forgets it. To everyone who followed this story from the beginning till now, thank you. You didn't just hear a story. You witnessed transformation. A man who came with nothing, was given everything, and used it to give the world more. This is not fiction. This is a reminder that love, even if imperfect, can shape destiny. Comment below what Amanda means to you. And if you believe in second chances, type #LegacyLives in the comments. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. 'Cause you never know. The next Amanda could be you.